Have you ever seen a ghost? Do you really believe in ghost? Think about the playing of spirit game. Do you know what is spirit game? And have you ever welcomed any spirit to talk to you? Try once. Many people are there who will be trying this. I don't know whether they got success or not. Here we are going to see a story, a shady plot where the people see the spirit, the ghost directly, and they even play spirit and welcome the dead people, and they'll try to talk to the dead people. See, we are going to see in the story now how these all things are going to happen. So the storylines. So I sat down to write a ghost story. So the writer is telling like this. The writer sat down doing something. What is he doing? He is going to write a ghost story. Jenkins was responsible. So Jenkins is the person asked a writer to write a ghost story. Hallock, he had said to me. So what is the writer name here? He is Hallock. So who told to Hallock to write the story? It is Jenkins. Jenkins told Hallock to write a ghost story. And the way he addressed Hallock like this, what did he say? Hallock, he had said to me. Give us another on the supernatural this time. Supernatural, the word, see here. Supernatural means which is not natural. Natural you know very well. The things which are not natural are supernatural. Just like as I have mentioned, have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever tried to talk to a ghost? These all things are supernatural, which are not the ordinary things. Something to give them the horrors. That's what the public wants. And your ghosts are live propositions. So Jenkins told to Hallock like this. He is telling, this time we want you to write something on supernatural. And there he did not stop. Not only supernatural, something to give them the horrors. Horrors means fear. Horrors means fears. Something to give horrors means the people, the readers should get fear reading your supernatural story. And your ghosts are live propositions. See here, something to give them the horrors that what the public wants. The public also prefer liking, the public also like to read horror stories, something where there is some mystery, not soft and ordinary stories. That's what Jenkins is telling to Hallock, to write a horror story because public like that very much. And your ghosts are live propositions. So what is live propositions? What is the meaning of the word live propositions? Means living persons. Living persons. So he should show the ghosts as living persons, means lively. The story should be so lively. Well, I was in no position to contradict Jenkins. So here the writer Hallock is telling now, he is not in a position to contradict Jenkins. What is the meaning of the word contradict? Contradict means oppose. Oppose. So the writer is not in a position to contradict his master, means Jenkins. He is not in a position to oppose him. Why is he not in a position? That we will see now. His magazine had been the only one to print my stuff. So I had said precisely in the deepest voice I was capable of and had gone out. So what is the reason that he couldn't oppose Jenkins? Hallock couldn't oppose Jenkins because his magazine is the only magazine which is printing, in which his stuff is being printed. So other than that, he doesn't have any other source. As he is a writer, see, every writer, it is a very common thing that whenever they write anything, they want that to be published in some newspaper or some magazine. So as Hallock is also a writer here, he is also expecting the same. He needs some magazine or something in which his writings should be published. So as it is the only magazine in which his writings can be published, he doesn't have any other option. That is the reason why he couldn't oppose to Jenkins. And precisely, so precisely he accepted. Precisely means exactly. So he said like this. So I had said precisely in the deepest voice I was capable of, and had gone out. Means exactly he said, I am capable of writing ghost stories. Telling like this, he left the place and went away. I hadn't the shade of an idea. See, he readily accepted, Hallock readily accepted the proposal, but he doesn't have any stuff in his mind. He is not prepared. There is no idea which story he is going to write then. But at the time, that didn't worry me in the least. Even though he doesn't have any idea in his mind, he did not bother it. He did not worry about that. You see, I had often been like that before, and in the end things had always come my way. I didn't in the least know how or why. So what is he telling? Why he least bothered about that? Because he doesn't have any idea about any of the story which he is going to write. Even though he doesn't have idea, he readily accepted for the proposal. Why? Previously also number of times it happened in the same way to him. But finally he had come with an extraordinary outcome, extraordinary work. So this time also, okay, maybe even now I don't have any idea. If once I sit and start writing, definitely I'll get idea is the confidence what the writer has in his mind. That is the reason he readily accepted the proposal, and he least bothered about having no idea what he is going to write. And even he mentioned how is it happening, even though without any idea he sits and start writing, but ultimately the final work used to be extraordinary. So he doesn't know how is it happening, but previously it happened like that. That is the reason why he is so much of confident now to sit and write a ghost story without having any idea. It had all been rather mysterious. Means for him it is mysterious, because if we have to do something, we need to have some ideas in our mind. Without having any idea, he started doing the work, and it is coming in an extraordinary way. So how is it happening like that? It is a big mystery for him also, for Hallock also. Mystery means full of, mysterious means full of mystery. You understand, I didn't specialize in ghost stories, but more or less they seemed to specialize in me. See here how twisted the sentence is. Did you understand? Once again I am going to read this for you. A ghost story had been the first fiction I had written. See here, you understand, I didn't specialize in ghost stories. He is not a very great specialist in writing the ghost stories. He doesn't have any specialization in that. But more or less they seemed to specialize in me. But what is he telling, the writer now? He is telling that more or less the ghost stories are within him. They got specialized in him. So because why he is making such a sentence? See the next sentence. A ghost story had been the first fiction I had written. So in his life till now he had written many writings, and the first fiction in his life is a ghost story. That is the reason now to write another ghost story he has that much of confidence. Curious how that idea for a plot had come to me out of nowhere after I had chased inspiration in vain for months. Even now, whenever Jenkins wanted a ghost, he called on me. So first time when he wrote, for so many months he sat, he thought, and finally he gave an extraordinary work. And even now, whenever this magazine owner, Jenkins, whenever he want any ghost story, he used to call a writer Hallock. And I had never found it healthy to contradict Jenkins. Jenkins always seemed to have an uncanny knowledge as to when the landlord or the grocer was pestering me, and he dunned me for a ghost. and somehow I had always been able to dig one up for him. So I had begun to get a bit cocky as to my ability. So this person means whenever he writes a story, whenever it gets published in the magazine, he used to get some money which will be useful for him. So as it is good for him, he never tried to contradict with Jenkins. He is not dare enough to do that, because he is getting some work from him for which he will be paid. That is the reason whenever Jenkins, means he is a bit strange person, whenever he needs anything, he'll just ring him up and ask him to write a ghost story. And till now, whenever Jenkins asked Hallock like that, he is able to write the story very nicely. So this time also, these all are the reasons for which Hallock readily accepted the proposal of Jenkins. So I went home and sat down before my desk and sucked at the end of my pencil and waited, but nothing happened. So here the word meaning sucked. So what this writer did, so he went to his home, sat near the desk and absorbed, having a pencil in his hand, he got absorbed in his thoughts. Totally he got absorbed in his thoughts. But even though he was sitting and thinking like that, nothing happened. Pretty soon my mind began to wander off on other things, decidedly unghostly and material things, such as my wife's shopping and how on earth I was going to cure her of her alarming tendency to take every new fad that came along and work it to death. So here, so he was sitting, actually he came back home, he sat and he is supposed to write a ghost story. He sat there and he was totally absorbed in some thoughts. He is thinking how he should start a story, what the plot of the story should be. So like this he is thinking, but he is not at all getting any idea. Other than getting idea, he is getting some more material things in his mind. So what is the material thing he is getting? About the shopping tendency of his wife. Whenever she find anything new in the market, even though it is useful or not, she will just purchase it. It is her rare tendency. So he started thinking, what can I do to stop this tendency what my wife has? So he started thinking such material things rather than getting an idea about the ghost story which he is supposed to write. But I realized that would never get me any place. So I went back to staring at the ceiling. So what he did, he understood these all are waste thoughts. It is time waste to think about those all things. So he tried to stop all those thoughts in his mind, and very keenly he started looking into the ceiling. Ceiling means top of the room. He started looking into the ceiling very keenly so that he can get some idea about the plot of the story which he is supposed to write. This writing business is delightful, isn't it? I said sarcastically at last, out loud too. You see, I had reached the stage of imbecility when I was taking to myself. So here when he is looking into that ceiling, still he is trying to get some thoughts. As he is not getting any thought, he is thinking in himself like this. This writing business is delightful, isn't it? Means in a sarcastic way. For a writer, it is not that easy to put all the thoughts whatever he gets on a paper, because the thoughts whatever we get, it doesn't mean that they will be in a proper order. Getting a story, a plot, making that into a proper order, presenting that properly, these all are not that easy tasks. So sarcastically means in a satirical way he is telling that writing business is not that easy. So you see, I had reached the stage of imbecility. So here the word, the meaning of the word imbecility is foolishness. So he reached to the stage of foolishness when he was talking to himself. He is sitting all alone there. He is thinking to do something. As he is not getting any idea, he started talking to himself, which he considered it as a foolishness. Yes, said a voice at the other end of the room. I should say it is. See, it is a very big, shocking. See, when you are sitting in a room all alone, preparing for an exam, you close the door. You know very well that no other person is there in the room. All of a sudden, you heard a voice back of you, one person standing behind you and spoke to you. How would you feel? Don't you feel frightened? Because you already knew that the door is locked. No one is there in the room except you. But you heard a voice very closely, very near to you. How do you feel? The same way here, see? Yes, said a voice at the other end of the room. From the other end of the room. He did not see any person. But a voice came telling yes. He didn't. So he got shocked now. I should say it is. So the voice told like this. I should say it is. I admit I jumped. Then I looked around. So when he heard such a strange voice, he stood up from his place and he looked around the room, means all the directions of the room. It was twilight. Twilight means not the original light which we get from the sun. The lighting what we get, the lights and all, electrified lights and all. So that light is called twilight. It was twilight by this time and I had forgotten to turn on the lamp. So afternoon he came back home. He sat to write something. From then onwards he was sitting there and thinking. So the time became evening and it became dark outside and he had forgotten to switch on the light because he got deeply involved in the thoughts of writing a ghost story. The other end of the room was full of shadows and furniture. So one side he is sitting, on the other side he can see, as it is dark from outside life, he can see the shadows of some furniture. I sat staring at it and presently noticed. So he was sitting there itself and he started staring, means he was looking into that images of furniture and all. Suddenly he noticed something there. Presently noticed something just taking shape. He noticed that something is taking shape out of that shades. It was exactly like watching one of these moving pictures, cartoons being put together. So how is that shape making is? It is as if we put all the cartoons together, how it will be like that the shape is. First an arm came out. So how is it making the shape? First he saw one arm came out. Then a bit of sleeve of a stiff white shirt waist. Then a leg and a plaid skirt, until at last there she was complete. Like that, see, once he saw the arm, next sleeves, next waist. Finally he is able to see a complete figure. It is a lady. Whoever she was, he doesn't know who is she, how she came, but in front of him when he is seeing, she appeared, means partwise, not all at a time. First he saw the hand, next leg, next waist, like that. Partwise she appeared in front of him. She was long and angular, with enormous fishy eyes behind big bone-rimmed spectacles, and had hair in a tight wad at the back of her head. Yes, I see, able to see right through her head. And a jaw. Well, it looked so solid that for the moment I began to doubt my very own senses and believe she was real after all. So now when the complete structure is made, he felt that as if a real person is standing in front of him. So he is not understanding. He even doubted his senses. He got a doubt. Even though the picture got appeared partwise, he got a doubt that the real person came and stood before him. She came over and stood in front of me and glared. Yes, positively glared down at me, although to my knowledge I had never laid eyes on the women before, to say nothing of giving her cause to look at me like that. So finally, when the complete figure is made, the lady came close to him and looking at him directly. I sat still, feeling pretty helpless, I can tell you, and at last she barked. What are you gapping at? Gapping means looking with open mouth. So he did not understand what to talk. See, a lady, it's a closed room where he was sitting. So he did not see that lady previously who appeared in front of him part-wise and came to him and looking at him. So he did not understand what to do. He just opened his mouth and looking at the lady like anything. So she finally came near to this hammock and she shouted at him telling, what are you gapping at? Means what are you looking at opening your mouth? I swallowed. Thought I hadn't been chewing anything. So he immediately closed his mouth. He swallowed something. Nothing, I said. Absolutely nothing. My dear lady, I was merely waiting for you to tell me why you had come. So finally he said, nothing is there. I'm just waiting to know the reason why you have come here. So he asked the lady to tell the reason why she came there at that time. And excuse me, but do you always come in sections like this? Should think your parts might get mixed up sometimes. And he's telling that. So excuse me for asking like this. Do you have the habit of coming like this part wise? So if you come like this one or the other time, if your parts get mixed up, it will be a problem. Didn't you send for me? She crisped. Crisped means spoke with liveliness. So what she said, you only sent a message to me, calling me to come here. Imagine how I felt at that time, the writer, see, because he did not send such a message to anyone, because he doesn't know who is the lady. For the first time he is seeing the lady who came in front of her and telling that you send me a message, that's why I came here. So imagine the condition of the writer there. Why no? I don't seem to remember. So he is in total confusion. Hallock is in total confusion now. He is telling that he is trying to recollect something in his mind, but he is telling that I don't remember anything. Look here, haven't you been calling on heaven and earth all afternoon to help you write a story? So the lady is asking him like this. See, all afternoon looking at heaven and earth, you were calling someone to help you to write a story. You didn't call? So like that the lady questioned the writer. I nodded. So he is of course sitting and waiting to get some idea. So he nodded his head, he shook his head. And then a possible explanation occurred to me and my spine got cold. So now he's so shivering, he's out of fear, he's feeling so fearsome. Now he came down. When the girl gave the reason why she came, so when she told that reason, he became cold. Suppose this was the ghost of a stenographer applying for a job. I had an advertisement in the paper recently. I opened my mouth to explain that the position was filled and permanently so, but she stopped me. So he was still thinking that maybe I might have given a newspaper ad for a stenographer and he wanted to tell that the post is already filled permanently. Before he said that, the lady stopped him. And when I got back to the office from my last case and was ready for you, didn't you switch off to something else and sit there driveling so I couldn't attract your attention until just now? I am very sorry, really. So immediately the lady spoke to him telling that I came from my office to attend you. But unfortunately, your thoughts got changed. That's why till now I couldn't reach you. Long back I came. I thought of coming to you and telling a story. But as you are thinking something else, I couldn't reach you. Immediately this man is telling sorry for that. Because his thoughts got changed. We have already discussed about it. How his thoughts got changed. In the middle he was thinking about the material things, about his wife and the other things. So for that, Hallock said sorry. He is telling like this, I am very sorry really. He said sorry to that lady. Well, you needn't be, because I just came to tell you to stop bothering us for assistance. You ain't going to get it. We are going on strike. So the lady told to the writer like this. So I came here to tell you that you are not going to get any support from us. And why she is telling that they are not going to, he is not going to get any support? Because these people are going on a strike. What? The writer questioned. The writer did not understand what this lady is telling. You don't have to yell at me. I didn't mean to yell, I said humbly. But I'm afraid I didn't quite understand you. You said you were going on strike. Don't you know what a strike is? Not another plot do you get from us. I stared at her and wet my lips. Is that where they have been coming from? Of course, where else? But my ghosts aren't bit like you. If they were, people wouldn't believe in them. She draped herself on the top of my desk among the pens and ink bottles and leaned towards me. In the other life, I used to write. So finally she is telling, please don't bother us because we are not going to come and assist you. Previously also this man, without having any idea, used to sit and write. He used to get some idea in the mind and he used to finish off his work. We are going on a strike. So when she made this sentence, the man got shocked. He said, what? He couldn't understand. Because see, he doesn't know that lady previously. He is unable to believe. He has a doubt that she is a ghost. And he got a doubt how the ghosts can go on a strike. These many doubts he had in his mind. So she told him, don't yell on me, don't shout at me. He said, no, humbly I am asking, why are you going for a strike? I couldn't understand what happened, like that he asked. She is telling, don't you know what is a strike? So she questioned the writer, telling like this. And she is also telling that now she came here to tell, if they were, people wouldn't believe in them. She draped herself on the top, means she came near to him. She sat on the table near the pens and ink bottles and she is talking to him directly. And she is telling like this, in the other life I used to write. So she started telling about her life. In the other life, what she used to do, she is telling that she was a writer in other life. You did? She nodded. So he questioned, you did writing? So she nodded. She shook her head telling yes. But that has nothing to do with my present form. It might have, but I gave it up at last for that very reason and went to work as a reader on a magazine. She sighed and rubbed the end of her long eagle nose with a reminiscent finger. Those were terrible days. The memory of them made me mistake purgatory for paradise. And at last, when I attained my present stage of being, I made up my mind that something should be done. So previously she used to write, after that she started reading the magazines when she is there in another life. But in the present life she made her mind. So instead of sitting and writing, she thought of helping others, those who are not getting any idea to write. So I found others who had suffered similarly, and between us we organized the Writers Inspiration Bureau. See, maybe you might have heard about Marriage Bureau and all. In the same way, these ghosts who are the writers and they have become the ghosts. So what they have come to a conclusion all together, they formed into one bureau. What is that? The Writers Inspiration Bureau. So this bureau, what they will do, they will help the people who are not getting any idea to sit and write something on one subject. We scout around until we find a writer without ideas and with a mind soft enough to accept impression. The case is brought to the attention of the main office and one of the assigned to it. When that case is finished, we bring in a report. See here, they formed into a bureau. What they will do, whenever they find a person, a writer who is sitting to write something but not getting the idea, one of them will go and assist the person, give some suggestions to the person, and once the work is completed, they will submit report back to their bureau. But I never saw you before and you wouldn't have this time. So, but this man is telling, previously I never saw you, previously you never helped me. So, this man got a doubt because this lady is telling that whenever you get the problem, I am coming and helping you, like that she told. So, this man is telling, previously I have never seen you and you wouldn't have this time if I hadn't come to announce the strike. So, the lady is telling like this time also you wouldn't have seen me, but now I came to tell you that we are going on a strike. That is the reason we are not giving any idea to you. Many a time I have leaned on your shoulder when you have thought you were thinking hard. I groaned and clutched my hair. The very idea of that horrible scarecrow so much as touching me, and wouldn't my wife be shocked? Shivered, but she continued, that's at an end. We have been called out of our beds a little too often in recent years, and now we are through. So here she is telling, so many number of times when you are sitting and thinking like this, I came, I sat beside you, I leaned on your shoulder, I touched your hair, like that she was telling what all the things happened previously, but he is telling that he doesn't know anything. And she said, we have helped you number of times, but now we have come through that, because now we are going to not to help you as we